Alright, so welcome back guys. In today's video we are going to deal with error analysis. As you can see here, previously we have discussed the contrastive analysis hypothesis, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so today's discussion is going to be error analysis and interlanguage by Pete Corder and Larry Selinker. So before we go any further, please guys press like and subscribe if you like the video. To those who have exams very soon, I really wish you the best of luck. Work hard. Alright, so let's cut to the chase. So as you can see, today's discussion is going to be error analysis. So it first started basically with Bitcorder and Selinker, okay, which these two figures, leading figures, are associated with the awakening of the field of second language acquisition, okay, because of the importance of their arguments. To those who don't know what second language acquisition is about, I'm going to deal with this interesting issue inshallah in the upcoming videos. Second language acquisition with Stephen Krashen's hypothesis of second language acquisition and other things. Okay, so the importance of error analysis, okay, at an empirical level. Oh, sorry, here I missed an L. Anyway, so they criticized the dominant practice of the contrastive analysis hypothesis. To those who did not watch the video, I would recommend you guys watch the previous video about contrastive analysis just to put yourselves into the context, and then you can watch error analysis so that you can have quite a big picture. Alright? Okay, so basically back at the time, the contrastive analysis hypothesis, which was deeply rooted in the behavioristic practice, it was dominant, okay? So basically it focused on comparing the linguistic inventories of the language pairs involved in learning. That is to say, we have the L1 and L2. L1 is your mother tongue and L2 is the target language. So basically, those who believe in the contrastive analysis, they say that your mother tongue influences the target language, and that's the main aspect of difficulty. This one explains why people do not learn languages, because they rely on their mother tongues. Therefore, interference impedes language acquisition, or yes, language acquisition. Okay, so yet, nevertheless, Corder and Selinker argued that researchers must not focus on language produced by learners as they try to communicate in the target language. In other terms, examining the errors learners produce. So for these two leading figures, Pete Corder and Larry Selinker, they just stated the opposite. They said that we must not focus on errors that are largely due to the cross-linguistic influence of mother tongue on the L2. We need to examine those errors. Okay, we need to examine those errors that learners produce. Okay, for them, human learning is fundamentally a process that involves making mistakes. Don't you agree? Making mistakes is a vital part in the process of language acquisition. Those who do not make mistakes, they don't really progress. They must make mistakes and then get the feedback of the teacher, and so on and so forth. It is a complex process. Okay, why? Because mistakes indicate that some learning is taking place. Okay, for example, if a learner makes a mistake, then the teacher can easily know that this learner is trying to understand, trying to put into use some linguistic analysis, okay, and so on and so forth. Anyway, so it is a must that you as a student or as a linguist, you must know the difference between a mistake and error, because they may seem like two facets of the same coin, but in fact they are not. Okay, they differ. In what sense? Okay, they differ in the sense that a mistake refers to a faulty use of language at the level of performance. Okay, at the level of performance. I presume you guys are familiar with the dichotomy of de Saussure, langue versus parole, and the dichotomy of Chomsky, performance versus competence. Anyway, you must know this. Mistakes are self-corrected, for they are largely due to slips of tongue, random guesses, etc. That is to say, when we make mistakes, sometimes we know that we made those mistakes. We can self-correct them. For example, if now I'm speaking and I make a mistake, and then I self-correct myself and I reproduce this mistake and correct it. Okay, because why? It's just due to slip of tongue, random guess, or anything like this. Basically, I am aware of the mistake, I know it. Whereas in error is a faulty use of language that is due to some wrong configuration at the level of competence. Here we have an issue because it is at the level of competence. That is to say, the learner is not aware of this kind of a mistake. For him, this error, not mistake, this error is correct. He does not know it. Okay, so errors are not self-corrected as opposed to mistakes, and they happen more than one time. For example, if you are observing a student and he says I goed, and then again he repeats it, I goed, and again I goed, then you know that this is an error. But if he says I go and next time he says I go, then you know that's just a mistake, okay, because it becomes self-corrected with time. Okay, on the contrary, errors are not self-corrected, they are at the level of competence. To those who do not know what is the difference between competence and error and performance, I would recommend you guys look for it. It was basically produced by Chomsky. Anyway, for him, competence is perfect, non-observable. Okay, it is the knowledge we have of language which is completely perfect, whereas performance is our actual use. When we speak, that's performance. When we perform, okay, we speak it. That's why performance is full of mistakes, because it's not really perfect. It is observable, we can observe it. Anyway, this is in syntax. You need to read a little bit about this. Okay, so now we have this distinction between contrastive analysis versus error analysis. Okay, contrastive analysis, this is just an extra info. It was mainly adopted in the audiolingual method. Okay, these are certain teaching methods that you guys need to know. Okay, contrastive analysis was basically associated with the audiolingual method, which viewed that language teaching was a set of habit formation. Okay, structuralism, behavioralism. Okay, anyway, I will try to post other videos concerning teaching methods. Alright, so contrastive analysis is based on negative transfer, that is cross-linguistic influence. Okay, so I will repeat it again. Okay, I know that repetition is really important because it makes the information engraved in the mind. So cross-linguistic influence, that is, we have the L1, it influences the L2. Okay, that's cross-linguistic influence. But we have to differentiate between positive transfer and negative transfer. Why? Because positive transfer can facilitate learning, whereas negative transfer can impede learning. Alright, so positive transfer, for example, it is due to the universal grammar. For example, if you positively transfer an item from a language to the target language, it becomes really easy, but sometimes it's not that easy. Whereas, anyway, let's continue. This is not our case today. Whereas error analysis focuses on mistakes or errors that learners make in their interlanguage. Okay, so contrastive analysis focuses on cross-linguistic influence or interference, whereas error analysis focuses on errors that are produced by learners. And as you can see here, we have Interlanguage, which was basically a paper by Larry Selinker in 1972, or I can't really remember the date. It's an interesting paper. Okay, it was kind of the awakening of the field of second language acquisition with his paper. Alright, so furthermore, we have error analysis is not an up. This is one of the differences between contrastive analysis and error analysis. Furthermore, okay, as we said, error analysis is not an a priori in the sense that we don't start analysis before we teach, while contrastive analysis is an a priori. We predict difficulty before we teach. Therefore, error analysis is a post priori. Here we just refer to the analysis. Okay, so in contrastive analysis, the analysis is done before, prior to. That's the meaning of a priori. As you can see here, a priori, meaning that the analysis is done before. But in error analysis, it's not an a priori. It's not. Okay, we wait for the learner until he makes the mistake or the error or whatever, and then we analyze it. I hope it's clear. Anyway, if you guys can't really understand something, you can just comment it and I will try my best to explain it. We have the concept of interlanguage. Okay, so basically originally the name was Interlanguage by Selinker, but we have also other names for it. It is also referred to as the idiosyncratic system learner language. Okay, so many people gave it different names. Anyways, it refers to one thing. That is, interlanguage is the type of language produced by second and foreign language learners who are in the process of learning a language. Okay, so interlanguage is neither one's L1 nor L2. It is in between the two languages. Okay, for example, if a Moroccan learner is learning English, he will develop in the process an interlanguage which is neither his mother tongue nor his L2. It will be in between. Okay, I don't have a camera so that I can explain it with my hands. I hope that the idea is clear. Anyway, it's neither L1 nor L2. It is in between. And what's important about this one is that it is systematic. It is role governed. Okay, interlanguage is idiosyncratic. Everyone has his own approximative system, also called again approximative system. Okay, so your interlanguage is different from my interlanguage. Okay, basically it's kind of a language, it's kind of a system of language that learners develop in between. Okay, the L1 and L2, before they get to the level of L2, they are at the level of interlanguage in between, neither L1 nor L2, and it is rule governed. Remember, rule governed. Okay, so this is just some how analysis is done in error analysis. Okay, we analyze all types of errors, not only those resulting from negative transfer, blah blah blah. Okay, we all know this. We have two types of errors. Okay, we have overt errors and covert errors. Overt errors are erroneous utterances that are ungrammatical. Okay, they happen at the level of the sentence. For example, when you say he goat, it's and grammatical. That's why it is called overt error. Everybody can notice such a mistake or error. It depends on the learner. Again, we have covert errors. Okay, covert errors are utterances that are grammatically well formed but not according to the context of communication. These type of errors happen a lot. Okay, we have the learner gives a well formed sentence in terms of grammar, it's grammatically correct, but it is at the discourse, it's not really according to the level of the discourse. That is to say, as you can see here in the example, for instance, if I ask you how are you and you answer I live in place X or place Y, it wouldn't be really the answer that I'm looking for. I'm much more interested in your state of affairs. How are you? I'm expecting fine. Now we have sources of errors. Okay, we have basically four types or four sources of errors. We have the interlingual, that is due to the negative transfer, again interference of the mother tongue on the target language. We have the intralingual errors that occur within the target language. They are largely due to overgeneralizations of rules. For example, okay, intralingual, basically or simply put, it's not related to your mother tongue. Okay, it's a mistake that you make within the L2. It's an overgeneralization of rules. For example, when a learner learns about this simple present, he becomes in the go, he goes. We say he goes. Okay, but when we say he may, he plus modal verb, we need a bare infinitive. We must say he may go. But for a learner, he may say, he might be tempted to make such a mistake and say he may goes, which is a grammatical mistake, which is an overgeneralization. Okay, overgeneralization. We have other types of mistakes: context of learning, induced errors, okay, mistakes in the textbook or from the teacher. These are induced errors. Okay, either the teacher makes a mistake and the learner repeats it, or the learner learns something wrong from the textbook. And we have communication strategies. Sometimes when students communicate, they might be tempted to, I don't know, prefabricate some words and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's the end of the presentation. Thank you so much for your okay, so that was the end of the presentation. Thank you so much for your attention. If you guys like the video, please press like, subscribe, and thank you again.